How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Above Average Podcast. Today we have a friend of mine and a guest from a run club. His name is Dan. I think Dan is above average in many ways, and I think he started a podcast, or he started the run club. I'm sorry, before we've seen like the big run club boom. And so today we're going to be talking about that. I'm here with Will. We're here with Dan Lampmann, and yeah, we're going to kick this off. Dan, what is happening?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's exciting. This place looks great.
Thank you. I was going to say you also have like a little bit of a media background, so I hope you appreciate the work I put in this week, because it was like full blown construction here like 3 days ago.
As someone that's done construction too, yeah, I get you. Yeah, no, and I was mentioning earlier when we were like walking in the Rich Roll podcast, and I don't know if it's the same camera or not the same camera, the same light and the whole setup, but you have a very similar setup to that, and I love the stylized of that. The way that he has the tables, the way he has it set up. So
that's cool.
Yeah, no, this looks great, guys.
Thanks, man.
So I was thinking we got to stop wearing black because we blend into the wall.
I have a white t-shirt for the next one. So yeah, I'm going to ruin the movie magic here. Yeah. We shoot like 2 or 3 in a day, and we'll change clothes. So we'll just change clothes in the other room. At least we have another room instead of, just an open area with a giant window. Yeah. Kind of wanted to talk about your background, kind of what you've been doing, and how you got into starting a run club, because I think it's grown in popularity a little bit, at least from the first time I went. Kick off. What kind of got you into wanting to look into a run club for fun?
Yeah, so it's a winding story with a lot of different pieces from my background, from what I grew up doing and that sort of thing. I flat out say that I consider anyone that puts 2 feet in front of the other to be a runner. When I started running and that sort of thing, it had nothing to do with being cross country or track or anything like that. I was a hockey player growing up. I played a lot of roller hockey and ice hockey, and training at dryland training was why I ran. But a big part of this was that my mom's a runner. She's been getting up at 5 a.m., running 5 miles every morning since I was a kid. I've seen her run her half marathons. I've gone to the different races. And when I was in high school, she got really involved with this nonprofit called Legs for Lindsay that fundraised for a specific farm that worked with folks with the horses as kind of like horse therapy, I think was what they were calling about it. I might have that wrong, but it was a really awesome organization called Legs for Lindsay. It was always a 5K that we did every summer, and I would get involved with the 1 mile fun run with all the kids. I would be running back and forth water and Gatorade and that sort of thing, picking up the Ritas for after the run and that sort of thing. And so all that's to say, running was always something that you had shoes for. And so I'd have my Asics, and I'd always be able to do that. And so I never really thought about it. And then when I went to college, I'm from the Philadelphia area. I came to Pittsburgh to go to school. So I went to University of Pittsburgh, and I was there. I worked a number of jobs. I was really involved on campus. It was hard to get up to where the gyms were. But I always had shoes, because that was just what my mom hammered into me. So I always had my shoes. And because of that, in between classes, in between whatever it was, I would throw them on and I would go for a run. I found out that if you run from William Pitt Union on Pitt's campus to the bank at the end of Walnut Street and back, that was exactly 3 miles. And so I would just keep doing that as much as I could.
Wow. That feels like it should be farther to me.
You feel yeah. And so I really enjoyed that, and I just kept running. And when I graduated college, I wanted to run a marathon. And so I jumped right into that. I really enjoyed it. I ran the 2018 Pittsburgh Marathon, and then just kind of kept going. I thought after that point, this is, again, a winding story, but after that point, I thought that I should run a marathon in all the cities I've lived in. And so lived in Pittsburgh right now. I'm from the Philly area. I lived in Richmond, Virginia when I was a kid. So I want to complete that, trio. And the Philly Marathon was an odyssey. We can get into that if you want to. But throughout all that time, COVID happened. And when COVID happened, I was alone in a South Side apartment. And I was just kind of figuring out, okay, how can I stay connected with folks? And what ended up happening was my best friend and I planned a trip to go across the country after COVID, once everything was open back up. And along the way, I found an article in GQ that was about a run club in LA called the Koreatown Run Club. And the way that they focused it was in that specific neighborhood. I don't know how big it is. I've definitely heard it plenty of times, but it's not a big neighborhood in LA. It's very, very central. It's very, very focused on the the Korean Americans that live there. And what was really interesting was that the way that they kind of functioned was focused on the local community, focused on the local small businesses, not focusing on anything big box or anything like that, but who are the mom and pop shops that we want to be bringing folks to support them. And, it's out of COVID. So who are those mom and pop shops that we don't want to close down? And I love that idea. I did a number of media things supporting some certain nonprofits in the area. I have a background in economic development and working with a lot of folks through the nonprofit space. And so I love that idea of bringing folks together. Read that, I'm like, okay, that sounds really interesting. I like the brand too. It's pretty cool. I also have a background, a teacher, and I've been a quasi-trainer, though I'm not a trainer. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, this all sounds really fun. Why don't we find a way of bringing folks together in something that's going to be exciting, something that's going to be a way to be in community after COVID, after everyone's been separated, after a lot of people moved, Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, let's do a run club. This Koreatown Run Club looks really cool. Looks like something I'm able to do because I can run 3 miles and I have a camera. So let's make it something fun. And so that's how I started it. And we started, the way it happened was I put a post on stories on my Instagram that said, hey, I'm starting a run club. Who wants to come run with me? About 9 people followed up. 5 people showed up for the first run on July 19th. 2021, and then the second run I don't really count because no one else showed up. The third run, a mutual friend, Hannah Phillips, showed up, and we kind of kicked it off there. And now I believe I'm sure when this comes out, but at least today, this past Wednesday was 160 runs that we've been doing.
Wow.
So since 2021, we've done that every Wednesday night at 6:30 at a rotating area. And then right before I got here was a trails run that we do on a bi-weekly basis. So we can get into all the specifics too, but basically it just exploded. And it's really exciting to see that many people come in that are wanting me to focus on, sure, running is important and the emphasis on fitness is interesting. We want people to live healthy lives, but what's more important to me, what has always been more important to me, and now my board and now my volunteer staff and all the volunteers that make it possible, is it's the community that you're able to create with the friends that you want to be, the people that you want to bring together, the way that you feel at home, like you can be yourself, and the excitement that you can have in that space is what we focus on building. So like I said, I'm not a trainer. I'm never gonna, might be a trainer at some point. I'm not a trainer now. I'll give you tips based on my own personal experience and the fact that I enjoy it. But we spend so much time focusing on making a space that is very, very exciting, celebratory, fun, silly, ridiculous. And we focus on that because what I've always said to all the folks that come out is, if I can be at 11 whenever you come out, be exciting. And if all my staff can be at 11 when they're hosting the run, that gives you the excuse to be at 5 or 6 or 2. But hopefully when you show up, you can show up excited. Yeah. And if I can give you that excuse, ideally it adds to the experience for everybody, because it's just more fun when all those people come together in a really fun way.
And I do want to pause and just say, everybody that helps with that run club specifically,
oh my God,
props to all of you.
Oh my God.
I've always gone and seen how much work is put into it. I know people that work behind the scenes, and I'm like, man, you guys put in a serious amount of work for a lot of people to have fun, and for the companies to benefit. And it is it's remarkable. So shout out to everybody that's on the board that does all the runs, that is leads the runs, a sweeper. They are, to put that much time into it is the only reason it's so
Rachel,
good.
Laura, Bob, Christy, Alita, Miguel, Bonnie, Zach, Roger, now Justin, now Laura. I can't believe you're putting me on the spot now.
A lot of people, it sounds like.
There's so many people that, from a staff perspective, and we're all volunteer, from a volunteer staff perspective, from a volunteer board perspective, We're just going through elections right now, so there's going to be some new folks coming in that we're really excited about. And apart from all those folks that put effort in to do that aspect, we have a list of somewhere between 20 to 60 active volunteers that support us every week. We can get into like how we operationalize all this, but it's impossible to do without all these folks. When I was starting it, I was a sheepdog running up and down the people, making sure everyone stayed together. But the reason why I was saying about going to 11 or creating that space, we are trying to create the environment where if you show up, you know nothing about running. You show up and you're a little intimidated by the folks that are there because you're like, am I a runner? And you're asking yourself those, like, we are giving you the excuse to say you are all those things that you think you're not. We want you to bring your full self. And we are trying to create an environment where the volunteers are there to support you and make sure that you feel that you can show up and you are a runner, but also that you're safe. I am someone that was hit by a car when I was running. Oh, shit. And so it's a situation where you want to make sure everyone is safe. You need to make sure everyone is safe. And we need to make sure that everyone feels that sense of inclusivity, that sense of community at the onset. And those are all the little small moments that you kind of show up in your best way to ideally make sure that they just know that. Because at the end of the day, you can say as much as you want about being inclusive, but if you're not operationalizing that in some way, shape, or form, then that's all lip service. And that is the furthest thing from what we try to do. And we're not perfect at it. We constantly get feedback, but we want to make sure that we're always actively creating new ways of making that happen for everyone that shows up.
Yeah. You said you went to Pitt.
Yes.
When did you graduate?
In 2017.
Okay, so you're a year above me. What'd you major in?
Communication and rhetoric.
Okay, never mind. I was thinking, because I was hearing you say that, and I lived in Sutherland my freshman year.
Okay. I was a Towers guy.
Okay, yeah. So I was just thinking, like, you know, who knows? Like, there's so many people at Pitt. But in the weirdest way, though, I used to see the same people that I didn't know, but just like, I would see like one person that I just recognized all 4 years, randomly, just the same people all the time. And so I was just thinking, like, if there was any type of way that we would have crossed paths at some point, which I'm sure we have.
I'm sure we have.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And in the fitness space, I'm sure we've been like around the same places. We've probably been into the same events and that sort of thing.
Probably. Yeah.
And for sure, like, I mean, Pittsburgh is a small enough place that you run into people. I was in my professional life, I ran into someone that we realized that, oh, we're both Liverpool fans. We've definitely been to games together. Like, I've been high-fiving you at Monterey Pub watching a Liverpool game. You know what I mean? So it's such a small city. I guarantee you we know the same people. We could just run down the names.
Probably, yeah. I saw Liverpool play Man City in Manchester in 2023. Yeah.
Oh my God, that must have been crazy.
Yeah, City won like 4-1. But
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I know.
One of my closest friends, her name's Danny. She got us really into Liverpool. My partner and I, Bonnie, and when they came to Pittsburgh to play in the exhibition at Heinz/Acrisure.
Yeah, who'd they play? It wasn't.
I don't think it was a Premier League team. I think it was
the Spanish team.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, I forget what it was. I think it starts with an E. I'm completely blanking on it.
Yeah, I remember. It was recent. It wasn't.
It was this summer.
It wasn't Sporting Lisbon. That's who I wanted.
No, it wasn't. No, I forget the exact name. Yeah. It was a lot of fun though, and frankly, I've had so much fun going to Riverhounds games.
Oh yeah.
So much fun going to those games. So
Real
much fun
Betis.
going.
That's who it was.
Okay. So much fun going to those games, and you know, I've grown up playing ice hockey and watching and going to games in Philly for the Flyers, and it's you're hard pressed to find more exciting of a game live than a hockey game,
for sure.
But going to the Riverhounds or going to, hopefully at some point when I get to go across the pond, the experience just in and of itself has to be so much fun. And obviously I'm the guy that's talking about run clubs and the experience that I want to. So I focus a lot on that. Yeah. And if you can create that environment, it's electric and it's so much fun.
I was the goalkeeper coach for the Riverhounds for 2 years.
You know, there's a shirt that you're wearing that says goalkeeping. You were talking about playing. So I was going to put those together, but no, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, 21 and 22, I was on the pro team staff.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, I missed that a lot because, as you said, like the atmosphere at Highmark Stadium is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, especially when
better view than PNC Park.
There's the people from like the BBC have said that that's like the best view in, in the world for soccer stadiums. But game days at Highmark are incredible. Like that's the thing I miss the most is like being out on the field for pregame warm up as the stadium is filling up, and then I mean, they do so much with, I mean, and we needed it for soccer, just like the outreach and with like, you got kids running around on the field and stuff, like local high school teams coming in and like, then that lights up kids. Cause when I was growing up for soccer, there was nowhere where you could go and see professional soccer. They played at Chartiers Valley High School.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never even went there. And then senior year, Highmark opens and I'm like, this is nuts. Like now soccer has a place in Pittsburgh.
Exactly. And it makes it more accessible. Like that accessibility, just like you said, like after the game, kids get to run on the field.
Yeah.
Like that's such a cool experience for those kids. Yeah. And then they get to go midfield, look up and go, whoa, do I want to do this? And they're 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. And maybe that's where their dream starts.
Yeah. I had kids asking me for my autograph. I'm like, you don't know who I am. Like, I'll sign your ball, but you don't.
Like, thanks so much. You're pumping my tires
They're
right
like,
now.
I look young. I was 25. They just assume I'm a player.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I'm on the staff.
Were you wearing a kit too?
I mean, I had the gear on, but I never was dressed in a kit. Like, I just had like the jacket.
At that point, they didn't even know what the difference was.
Nah, they were like, yeah, just
they were just hyped on you, dude.
Yeah.
They're just hyped on you.
I was like,
you know what? Maybe they did. Maybe they knew about this podcast and they were like, how about that?
Yeah, that's true. Wait, I want to ask too. What part of you're from Philly? What part of Philly are you from?
I'm not from the city. I'm from the greater Philly area. My family's from the city.
Yeah.
I'm from Montgomery County in a town called Limerick.
Okay, I lived in Westchester for 1 year.
Okay, yeah. I played all the teams in Westchester and would travel to see them. My best friend I was mentioning earlier went to Westchester. Still there in grad school right now.
Oh, dude, that was the funnest year of my life.
Really?
Oh my God, I went there as a 5th year after Pitt.
Okay.
I played there, and just being like a 23-year-old, like post grad, barely taking classes, and like Westchester is a fun place to be.
It is a fun place.
And
it's a college town.
Oh,
that's what like that specific area. It's a total college town.
Very different from Oakland, but in the best way.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love Philadelphia. I didn't really get there. It's far from Westchester. Like, I mean, with traffic, Philly traffic is crazy.
Oh yeah, you got to go down to Schuylkill. And it's
it was
a nightmare.
Horrible. Yeah, but I mean, great year. Like, I wish I would have stayed longer, but I ended up back here anyway.
Yeah, I adore Philly. I'll be there next weekend for the marathon.
Are you running it? Or
no, I'm not. No, I ran it a few years ago. Bonnie is running it.
Okay.
And she would get too embarrassed if I talked about her plans, but she's got awesome plans and she has been killing it with her training. Mm-hmm. She's been incredibly consistent. She's got a team behind her. I'm the guy that's going to be in the cold with her water bottles at specific points across the area, and I'll run the half marathon beforehand. But no one cares about that one.
He has a team. Shoot, I'm going to run a marathon in Miami, and I haven't even ran with a water bottle yet. I'm just been like, we're hitting the half.
All right, you got to start with the salt pills, man. You got to start dialing that nutrition. Big fan of BPN, so start getting their stuff.
Hey.
So you had mentioned, just going back to the Run Club, I do want to touch on one thing that I think you have done very, very well, that I'm not sure if other run clubs have done this locally. I mean, it hasn't came across my radar, but you said, I can run 3 miles and I ran with a camera. You optimized very well with social media early on, especially.
Yeah.
And I think now it's built a presence, and it's not like the end all be all of how you get people from the Run Club, because I see a lot of people ask me about it because they saw us running now. It's not even about being on social media. Like, we physically have been in so many neighborhoods, and when you have, 5-6 running groups with like 30, 40 people each.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that many?
Yeah, we're
all at the same time?
We're between 200 and 270 every run.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Every city run. Trails runs are smaller.
Now I see what you mean with the volunteers. I'm like, okay. I mean, like, like however you use them, but now, like, you need
they have like a few people per run group, and then more people just managing the start and the end, and then like a little bit of a media portion, and then there's still people that like what, plan out the runs beforehand. I'm not sure if those are all the same people. Sometimes they're not, I'm guessing,
Yeah. So as like a quick run through, and also but going back to it, I did not name who did I just had this in my head. I did not name Ryan in that, who is our director of partnerships too. So got to shout out him as well. But so we operate our Yinz Run Club runs every Wednesday night at 6:30 at a location across the city, usually a bar or a brewery. It started there because during the pandemic, that was the one places that was social, that was also outdoors.
Yeah.
So it was at that point in 2021, it was after any of the restrictions. But we still wanted to be mindful of the fact that some people might not be comfortable with this. How can we at least some way social distance and make sure that, again, people are feeling comfortable no matter what they're doing? So we would go to places like Trace or Two Phrase a lot, two awesome partners. We did a number of events with them. East End Brewing, that they have the great outdoor area there, as just to name a couple. We started also doing it in parks too, and we did a couple of those in Highland Park and in Frick Park. But yeah, so every Wednesday night at 6:30, we go to one location. By 6:15 at the latest, there's already our folks there setting up a welcome table. That if someone's new or anything like that, they might see a mass of people and not really know who is in charge or who they can talk to. So we set up a welcome table, ideally to have folks have a place to go if they have any questions, if they're not really sure, or just have an excuse of talking to at least one person, giving that little access. We have run captains, 2 of them. Those run captains are in charge of the group, making sure everyone comes together. Those are the ones that scream runners before every run. And then we have different pace groups. So from 8:30 to 11:30, we have different pace groups that have a pacer in front that are in charge of the whole group as the formal leader. They're wearing reflective gear. They're called, attention's called to them, introduced to the whole crowd. We take time before the run actually starts for them to introduce themselves, who they are, what the deal was with the run, kind of maybe share a little bit about what the run is like. Like, hey, this area, there's a little uneven sidewalks. We know that. Be aware. Watch your feet. Make sure you give some space in front of the person in front of you. But effectively, everyone, once we introduce and do the whole routine that we have at the beginning, making sure that everyone knows what's about to happen, we separate into space groups. And then once everyone gets into the pace groups and gets to the introduction, we do a warm-up, and then we send everyone out. What is fun that we started to do is we send 3 groups one way and 3 groups the other way, but it's one big circle. So at some point during that run, everyone runs past each other and they just have a high five line, which is just like another little area to make this fun and silly and
that's cool.
That sort of thing. And we also have a sweeper behind all of those groups that go out the different direction. So if one person's like, oh, I chose 8:30, maybe I need to drop back to 9. Okay, well, they're gonna pick you up. So just run a little bit slower. Don't worry about it, and then eventually the 9 will come pick you up. But we always have one sweeper that's at the end of both those groups in case anything happens, anyone needs to be dealt with or anything like that. There's also, on top of the volunteers that we have, a lot of informal leaders that take a lot upon themselves to inform us, like, hey, watch out for this person. Hey, this person has they've been having ankle issues. Just be aware of them, check in with them, see if they're all right. All of that comes from creating the environment where we have a lot of leaders that aren't just leaders in name. And so, I'm here right now and I'm excited to talk about YRC. Hopefully you can tell from the fact that I'm getting excited. But I'm just the voice box for a huge thing that a lot of people have added to. We named a bunch of people already, but so many people that come up to me afterwards feel, and maybe you feel a little bit of this, a bit of ownership about that community. You were joking, It's like, oh, our run club. It's like, yeah, it is. It is our run club. It is the fact that everyone that comes adds a little bit to that club that makes it more fun, that makes it more exciting, that makes it weirder or sillier or more personal or a little bit bigger. And that's the fun part about having that, because you can orchestrate all that, and we take a lot of time to do that. But if you don't have the buy-in, it still feels stale. And what I'm incredibly happy about is that we've been able to have that buy-in from folks that have given so much time and attention to it. And even, no one's getting paid. It's all just the friendships being made and the relationships that are coming out of it, which has been really exciting to watch.
I got a hot take for you.
Hit me with it.
It might be. It might have came up when you've taken any reviews from people.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yes. Wait, are you pro rock, paper, scissors or anti?
I am pro, and I will go into any position at that run club that you have to make that happen. I understand why you logistically might not be able to. It might be a shit show with 200 people versus, I don't know, maybe you kind of capped off at stopping at around 100 more or less, but it was like such a fun way to start. But I fully understand why that might not be the thing that you do anymore. But
See,
it was very cool.
I'll tell you what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So when I started, again, I was a teacher a little bit. I was an informal teacher. I don't have a teaching certification, but I was doing a program when I was teaching in a high school. I have trained, informally kids to play ice hockey. People have asked me questions to be trainers for running. And so no accreditations, but I like being able to think about how can you put someone in the best position to be successful. Mm-hmm. And so, with YRC, Yinz Run Club, I'm not trying to put you in the best position to be successful with hitting your splits or making that fastest mile. I'm trying to put you in the position to be the most successful and having the most fun and being the most excited about it. And so we're figuring out ways of almost like social engineering patterns of getting people to come together in in more comfortable ways. Mm-hmm. One of the ways that we did that at the very, very start, when I realized that the people that I was bringing together are friends with me, but they don't know each other. Yeah. I'm very lucky that I've been able to have a lot of friends in really cool areas. And so when I bring them together, it's like, now when you're, getting a birthday together and like your work friends, your college friends, your home friends, like all these people come together and they don't know each other and it's a little bit awkward. How do you make that not awkward? How do you create a sense of community all of a sudden in a way that ideally gets someone thinking about before they had any issues with stress or anxiety when they were a kid and they just became friends on the play yard or the play gym or whatever? How do you get them back in that mindset? And I was thinking about what that means. Like, how do you social engineer that? And the way that we came up with it, or that I came up with it, was to play rock, paper, scissors before every run as a means to get to know folks. And when I say I would go to 11, I'm not a big wrestler person, but I'm, The Rock with screaming with the mic, being, so excited that they just won rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
And it was a very silly way that I'm losing it because someone just beat this person in a non-confrontational environment that they're just like, oh my God, I'm having fun. Like this. And
it was like a tiered out, like each group would start doing it. And he would say, find someone that you've never talked to and start. So you play against somebody new. And so you're having this weird battle with a stranger. It's funny. It's awkward, but it's funny.
Yeah.
And then it goes down to like 2 people from each group. It's like, if you won, you move on to the next person that won in your group.
The bracket starts coming down.
Until it's a bracket to 2. And then it'd be like, it felt like a little gladiator circle.
Yeah, it's a mano circle. And like, I'm, who's cheering for this person? Who's cheering for that? And then it would be a way that, it's rock, paper, scissors. It's not a big deal, but it's a fun, silly thing that even if you are a more socially anxious person, we're all cheering for you. And while that might be still like, oh, I'm still feeling a little anxious, you at least are smiling probably because it's a fun, silly thing. And that person would get the free beer every night. Shout out to all the partners that gave 1 free beer to us.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was just a way of setting off the intention of the day. And now, at least, like if you two don't know each other and you're standing next to each other, now you have a reason to talk. Mm-hmm. Wow, that was really crazy. Well, did you win? Oh my God, you won 2-1. That's awesome. What's your name, by the way? Where do you work? Oh, you do that? Oh, I live over here. It starts that conversation. Yeah. And then hopefully that has been able to facilitate folks becoming friends and starting that feeling that, hey, I'm alone here. I'm not really sure who to know coming out of COVID. I'm not my friends moved away. I don't live here. I just moved here, whatever it is. That gives you the excuse. Now, we don't do it anymore. And that's the problem. It got so big that if we did that bracket style, we would be there for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And we already have about 10 minutes of, getting everyone together beforehand. So we've put it on ice. I'm saying putting it on ice because that's never a no. And we'll probably bring it back at some point for, some fun ways. But we're still thinking about ways to do that and just like the right engineering to make it happen.
Oh, that is cool. If everyone in the world played rock, paper, scissors against each other, you only have to win like 30 times to be like the champion.
Really?
Yeah, really? Something crazy. Yeah, I just read that. I'll have to look up exactly what it is.
Oh my God.
Because I was thinking about that as you were saying it. I was like, that probably happens pretty quickly. Like you go, even with 200 people, like it's only like what, 5, 6, 7 rounds before you're getting to the end.
It's probably
So then,
probably not even that. Maybe it's like 4. I don't know. That's on my shower thought shit that you just came up with right now.
Yeah.
You spent a lot of time on Reddit recently, huh?
Yeah. It might have been Reddit, to be honest.
And now I'm just thinking, have I been training people to win that?
Here it is.
That worldwide competition.
Yeah. If 7 billion.
It's on Reddit.
It is Reddit. In a single elimination rock, paper, scissors tournament, the winner would only have to win 33 times in a row.
All right. Well, starting at YRC, we're going to start doing the worldwide training ground. So if anyone would like to come, we'll start doing that.
Get everybody on the world on a Zoom call and just,
33
all the way down.
times in a row. I mean, that's That's a dynasty right there.
Could you, if you had like one person that did that consistently, that would be insane.
Okay, this should be like a Mr. Beast video. Like that's one of the few people on the planet that can make something like this happen.
Yeah.
If he's watching this, if he ever comes across this, I'll take a little credit for this idea. Run with it though, please, because I don't
the
have the
boxing
resources.
matches away. We're doing rock paper scissors here.
Yeah, exactly.
7 billion people. I don't know if that would really be logistical.
That was like my hot take that I wanted to give to you because I'm sure somebody said that to you. I'm sure, but I was like, man, that was one of the funnest ways to start. But again, looking at how it works, especially in the winter, where it's like, it like you get there and it's already been dark, and so it's just another way of like harder to manage because people like it's already dark. You already got to like start to run, and you're going to be running in some of these neighborhoods in the dark anyway. So it's like it's harder to do that for 15 more minutes starting. But it's actually kind of funny because that's like. Going in the winter is my favorite time to go.
Yeah.
It 100% because I think it personally gets me out of the house more. And it's one of those things that it keeps me accountable by the nature of like, I know the expectation, just like you had said, I'll show up there and it will get me in a better mood. It'll make me more social and like the seasonal depression. I don't know about y'all, but it's hit me as I've gotten older. It's like been more noticeable.
We live in Pittsburgh, man.
Yeah. Where like, like I grew up where it was like sunny all the time, or at least at the very least I went home and now I'm like, man, having things that are going to be at 11.
Yeah.
Especially when sometimes you need it and you don't even realize you need it. And then you get there and leave and you're like, man, that was a good way for a Wednesday to kick off like for the rest of the week, to mentally kind of keep you feeling better. Cause you got to see some people, some FaceTime when maybe you might hunker down a lot in the winter. And like as a city, it does seem to close down more from like January to March.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much going on. So it's actually one of my favorite times to go is actually in the winter. Despite it being cold, like I'll just zone out on the run itself. I'm like, a little chilly today, 20, 25, whatever. But what is your fitness goals that you have, outside of the run club itself, like you as a person, like you said, you were doing some marathons at least. I don't know if you predict you're going to do more marathons, or are you going to look into other things as activities? Like, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, no. So I did 3 marathons. That was great. It was when there was a lot of other life that I was living. And so it was, it was waking up at 5 a.m. and doing all those things. And it was a lot. And so I completed them. I was happy I did all of them. They were great experiences. I will run marathons at another point. I would love to do, the big ones. I would love to do Boston. I would love to do New York, Chicago. Would love to do LA. Frankly, I would love to do the Sydney Marathon in Australia.
Really?
Because
why that one?
I would always wanted to go to Australia, just like a personal thing that I always thought was the
You're a big Steve
coolest
Irwin
place.
fan, I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all there, and I would love to do that at some point, but right now it doesn't make sense with my lifestyle and what I want to be doing. Also, I've done a ton of running. I've done those races, and so I'm looking for something that's a little bit different. A friend that if you haven't had him on the podcast, shout out to Donald Robinson. He has his own podcast. He's a run trainer, awesome guy, coaches students at some local high schools, but also focuses on run training for folks, middle school age all to 60, kind of longevity training in general. Awesome guy. He has his own podcast. Definitely can connect you guys to him.
Yeah.
But he did the Mighty Moraine Triathlon this past summer. So at Moraine State Park, that's up north. Yeah. And so I decided I'm going to do the Olympic style triathlon next summer. Nice. And so right now it's just trying to figure out how to do that. I have a single speed bike, so that might not work.
Yeah.
I know how to swim. I love swimming, but I have not done it, for training ever. And the running, I'm perfectly confident into doing that. So I can definitely do the bike and the running. I need to start getting more fit in the swim training. But I want to do that, and I'm just trying to figure out how to kind of navigate my schedule to make that happen.
The swim training's a little bit it can be a little bit deceiving if you haven't done swim training before. It's definitely.
Where do you even go to do that?
Well, you might have the hookups.
I work at Pitt.
Yeah.
So
you can just go to Trees.
Yeah, I can go up to Trees Hall. Yeah. The only unfortunate part is that they just have weird hours. So it's just like right now, if I wasn't here, I should be going to that. And Saturday afternoons when I spend time with my partner. So it's like, it's hard to navigate things. So, but yeah, Trees Hall, Kingsley Association is a physical building in East Liberty, Larimer area that Donald goes to. He recommended that. They have a pool there. I think the JCC does as well in Squirrel Hill. But I got it for free at Trees Hall. So and also Trees Hall flat out. Have you been to the? Obviously you went. You didn't go to Pitt, right? The basement weightlifting room in Trees Hall.
Yeah, so I went there a couple times.
Okay.
I mean, because we had our gym for was in the field house, like above.
Right.
So we were always there.
Right.
But I went to Trees once, and it was so packed, and I was like, I'm out. But it's definitely like the, dungeony, like.
Oh, and I love that.
Yeah, it's great. It has a different feel to it.
The hoodie would go up, and I
Absolutely.
don't want to talk to anybody. Everyone's very nice, and it's just like, is that you? Is that whatever.
Yeah.
But adore that gym.
Yeah.
There used to be a gym out here called Selly's Fitness. You guys ever go to that?
No,
It was a powerlifting gym in right at Doughboy Square in Lawrenceville.
Oh.
It was like a square building. I think now, is it Maggie's Flowers or something like that in the Strip District? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The dried flowers place.
Yeah.
I think they're like warehouses. This place now, but there's a motorcycle shop underneath.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Wait,
it has like a skull on the wall.
But don't they have like a like the RAV4 thing out in the front?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. So you come down that hill.
Yes.
From
Yeah. So the upstairs of that used to be Selly's Fitness. I don't know if Selly's exists still anymore. I only went there because I worked across the street when I was going there. Fantastic gym, powerlifting gym, and it had that dungeon feel, which felt great.
That's interesting location for like right there and like borderline Lawrenceville Strip, I guess, to have a powerlifting gym. I'd never.
It was. I think they moved because there's also a jujitsu studio underneath it. So that motorcycle shop used to be Born something. I forget what it is. I think they're in. Is it Spring Garden? Is that the neighborhood that's right around here? Spring Hill maybe. It's on the north side. I'm not really sure what it's. Spring
Troy
something.
Hill.
North of Troy Hill.
It's not Troy Hill.
I think it's like
down
north of Troy
low.
Hill.
It's. I'm sorry. I'm getting my geography mixed up. But I think they moved there wherever it was.
Yeah.
But I the dungeon feel of a gym I really enjoy. I don't like anyone. I don't want to talk to anybody. If I'm going lifting, I'm doing my thing. I have my routine. My hood's up and my hat's down. Don't talk to me. Putting some demons away.
Yeah.
The well, if you need some more hours, I work at CMU. You can walk down and we can see the hours difference because I've been like wanting to go back and swim a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially as I train for a marathon. There's been a couple days where like if I have feeling some sort of way with my lower back or something, I'm like, well,
cross training.
If I could jump in the pool for today instead of run even the medium run today, like 6 miles, 7 miles, if I could just swim, I know that at least would benefit me. So
what's your training right now? You're doing Miami, right?
I am, February 2nd. My like training like outline like what it looks like I'm doing like the Novice 1 training like program or whatever. So it's like it's like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, or I do Friday and Sunday. I just depending on how the week looks. And I'm right at like 12 miles tomorrow. So I'm like not maybe just at halfway on the training timeline or close to it from when I started. But I'm doing like 3 miles, like typically do a speed or tempo run, run club on Wednesday. And I just refuse to do extra miles that day because I go have fun. So if it happens to go up in more mileage, I'll just slap it on Monday. I don't care.
Right.
And then the long run on the weekend, So, but it's been going good. I've actually been trading off between a couple different brands of shoes. Rad Running just gave me a free pair, so I actually have a call with them to kind of see how they are.
Nice.
So it's been good, but it's actually kind of funny. I mean, I've ran and rucked a lot of distance, and I have. I'm trying to definitely be more intentional about.
I just got into rucking.
Eating. Oh yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So,
really?
So like what gave you the interest to ruck? Because like I always find it weird that people get into rucking.
How do you define rucking? For like just like what makes rucking? I mean, obviously you have
he's probably the one to answer that. Yeah. I put weight in a backpack. That's what I know.
That's what I would think too. But like I didn't know if there was any specific type of way you define that.
It's I mean weight in the backpack, and you typically have a backpack that has a frame, suggested at least, and then typically like you walk at a brisk pace. It might not be like really quick, but if you're starting off, it's just a walk, but it's just to kind of run or to walk at like a tougher pace with weight on your back, and suggested weights kind of vary, but like, so
it's always on your back though, right? Like, I mean, it's like not like throwing on a weighted vest and then,
I mean, that would count, sure. But like, I think mostly it's like having like a Alice frame style backpack with weight, because then you can put more weight and put the weight on your hips, so you're actually not like hurting your back and your shoulders, and you kind of trade that off. I say it's interesting because like I was forced to do it so much. I'm like, who would want to do this in their free time?
For sure.
But also there is a lot of benefit. I was like freaky strong at one point because of it. Just my whole frame was just strong.
Sure.
That's
doing it.
That's the goal for me.
Yeah.
You run all the time. You always run. You're just gonna get lighter. You're not gonna have as much muscle definition. You're not gonna be able to put on as much weight. Right. That's what you're doing the running for.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find like that nice middle distance or middle structure that I can have, good amount of muscle on and have, be able to run a half marathon at a good pace. But I got into it because I think this was like either late high school, early college. Go Ruck, that brand.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Got recommended to me a bunch. I was a big fan of Huckberry, if you know that website. Yeah. And so I bought a Go Ruck backpack and a weight, and so I'll do that every so often as like a replacement for any run training. I also annoy Bonnie all the time because I will throw it on when we're going on a nice walk together.
Yeah.
And she gets frustrated. She's like, Dan, why are you putting the backpack on? We're walking our dog. Can you just walk? And I'm like, no, but this is fun.
Oh, dude, I used to put on a weighted vest to cut the grass.
Oh, straight up. Yeah.
I mean, I'm walking anyway.
Yeah, just keep it, add more things.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Whose dad is that out there just fucking trimming?
Someone weighted vest one of my neighbors was like, hey, is that a bulletproof vest? And I was like, I don't think so.
You should just completely just been like, yeah, dude, they're coming.
Just like freak everybody out.
He's just like, okay, all right, I'm going to go back inside now. Happy Sunday.
He'll never talk to you again.
I did think about that. I was like, people probably think I'm running around with I got a bandolier on.
It's been like one of my problems with training for the tactical games is like I wanted to go to Run Club on trails and wear it there because there's less people. I'm not in public. I don't need people looking like I'm wearing a bulletproof vest run through East Liberty. I just don't need that attention.
Right. I get you. I mean, someone would be like, yeah, whatever. He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
Don't ask him any questions.
Maybe with so many people at Run Club, I could maybe just blend in. I mean, I've worn it underneath my sweatshirt in the winter, and you guys didn't notice it.
I was just about to say, did you do that?
I did it a couple times because I was like, hey, there's going to be a run at the tactical games, and I just want I'll do the slowest pace and run with 20 pounds or 15 pounds or whatever, and just do it. It's not great for you, by the way. So if you're ever rucking, ruck weight, just go a little slowly progress up with it. I can definitely tell you that as a way from a guy that had a prior back injury.
Fractures.
From rucking or just previous?
A lot of things, but yes, overtraining on rucking.
Well, yeah, you were infantry, right? Mm-hmm. You were Army infantry, yeah.
I was light infantry, so we walked. Okay. We walked a lot. There's the mechanized infantry, there's heavy where you're in vehicles, and even some light units have like a detachment that's all vehicles, but we were the guys that flew in helicopters and would come out of them and then walk to our place, so like walk 15 miles, but like with all your gear. So it's like your ruck weight is only supposedly 45 pounds, but like your total weight was like 100 pounds, so like you do like mission after mission with that. Damn. It definitely beats you up. So
yeah,
I'll just say be careful. But
sure.
But it makes you kind of super strong in a lot of ways. Like there was a point where I was maybe around the same frame I am now, maybe a little bit smaller. I could pick up a 100-pound bag and put it on, and I'm telling you, it felt like it was just a school backpack to me. It was
sure, dude.
Yeah, just my
over time.
Like my core was insanely strong. Just picking that thing up, putting it on, and walking.
Yeah.
It's
I have a question,
something else.
actually unrelated to what we're talking about, but and I've never asked you about this, but I mean for the both of you.
Yeah.
With running in particular, like over the years, I feel like we've had this, like when talking about like footwear. There's like the barefoot, like the Vivo shoes and stuff, and like there's someone at the CrossFit gym who's fast as hell, like just endurance wise, like not even speed, but like overtime, 5,000 meter row, like 16 minutes, just crazy.
Who is it?
Remy. I don't know if you. Yeah. So he has like the very minimalist shoes, and he'll run like the mini tri that we do, and I mean like asphalt's hard as hell, and I'm like, dude, how are you wearing those shoes? You know, and like there's this brand of people that's like, you should be wearing that because that's natural and whatever. And I'm like, okay, fair, but is it realistic to like do that in the world that we live in now. And then you have the other side of this where you've got the people that are, like the standard, like stereotypical runner with like the flashy and like the tank top and the short shorts, but then like the shoes that are just super like 4 to 5 inches of padding.
Yeah.
What is the right thing there? Because I ran a 10 miler a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I got these $40 Pumas from Going Gone that I got for CrossFit, and the ground felt so hard after like 6 miles.
Yeah.
And so I'm always torn, because I'm like, I get the notion that like we have all this cushion that we would not normally have, and like it can mess some people up, depending on your gait and whatever else. But I just don't know where what the right thing is to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you have? I got thoughts, but do you have thoughts?
I got thoughts, and I think yours could be similar. So
okay.
I went to your partner told me about a physical therapist to go to when I had a hurt injury.
Sean?
Yes. And
my guy,
dude, he's great.
He's fantastic. Yeah.
I had asked him the exact same question because I was not sure, and I was testing out a bunch of stuff, and I said, hey, like I think I hurt my ankle. I'm not really sure how. Running too quickly, running with this kind of shoe. What is it? Yeah. He fixed some strengthening parts to me, which was obviously mostly the reason it wasn't the shoe. And I said, does it really make a difference? And he said, the biggest part is just straight up comfort of comfort as an individual makes more of a difference than thinking you need a certain type of shoe. He said, bar none, that makes the biggest difference. Yeah. And I did a little research, and a couple of guys put out some videos that are like, went into the weeds with like why that is. And they couldn't link any points of data to show that a certain kind of shoe or shoe shape or no shoe is going to be better. There was no linkage to any of it.
Interesting.
That if you're uncomfortable based on how your feet are strengthened or how they're shaped or how big a shoe is still going to be a preference of trial and error more than anything to avoid an injury rather than the opposite, which is just what I was told. Wow. Which makes sense.
Similar thoughts. Sean's great, by the way. Fantastic. When I talk about Bonnie having a team, he's one of those team members, and he will get you right. Yeah. Bar none. So it is total comfort. Okay. There is like the thought process that, I subscribe to, which is not Sean approved. This is Dan speaking. I had health class in high school. The only thing I really learned from health class in high school was my health teacher was one of the gym teachers that ran in barefoot. And he talked about how to run. His belief was that no one learns how to run. You just start running.
Just do it, yeah.
And because of that, you don't realize what you might be doing that might be impacting you or handicapping you or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he talked a lot about thinking about where you're running. And so when I lucked out having this guy talking about running when I was in high school. And so I really thought about it. And I thought that I wanted to focus on running so that I could be smooth and that I might not be the fastest, but I might be able to run as, forever. Longevity is what I was looking for. And so the way that I run now is there's a little bit of playing ice hockey in there, and I'm kind of gliding along. That's at least what my partner says. And it's because of where I'm striking. Yeah. I'm striking on my forefoot. I try to go right underneath like your toes, knuckles, if you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Right there. Uh-huh. And so you still get to engage your calf. You still got your Achilles going, but you're not putting so much emphasis anywhere. You're kind of right where the sweet spot is.
So like you're not heel striking at all.
If these are my toes, this is right there. I'm hitting
so right. It's like the ball of your foot.
Yeah, right on the ball, and that's not the best thing for certain runners. That's not the best thing for how folks are constructed. But for me, it works really well. The choosing your own shoe is an entirely personal choice.
Yeah.
But if you are trying to say, oh, I've been running in the biggest cushion, I want to try barefoot shoes, you're just going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, you're going to get messed up.
You're immediately going to hurt yourself because you've been running on padding forever.
Yeah.
Now you change that. It's like having 10 pounds on your barbell and trying to do a squat and now putting, I'm going to put 100 on either side and see what I can do.
Absolutely.
It's just a total change, right? And so you got to work your way up. I have a good friend that adores his more minimalistic shoes. He ran in sandals for a long time. Had no issues.
What a savage.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Freaking alpha male.
Yeah, no, he's awesome, and he's incredibly good at what he does, and not many issues, but he's slowly built his way up. So it just depends on where you're coming in at it, and if you want something that you want the effort to grow into a more minimalistic shoe, great. but you don't just jump right into it. Like, frankly, if you put those on, walk for a day, go back to your other shoes.
Yeah.
And then walk for 2 days, and then, like, that sort of thing.
Such an I mean, so like, I mean, obviously, like, I've playing soccer, like, ran a lot, right?
Yeah,
but same thing, like, no one was ever teaching me how to run. Like, I didn't even learn how to use my arms properly until I got to college. And then, like, we had a strength coach who was, you know, like, cheat the pocket, all that type of shit.
Yeah.
And, but so, you know, running in soccer cleats is a different thing, I think. But now when I run, like, I mean, I try to focus on hitting my midfoot, but I've had conversations with people at the CrossFit gym who are telling me that, like, I watch other people run, and like, there's people that are landing like kind of on the ball of their foot, but their heel is not coming down. It's almost like, I mean, when you sprint, you're going to run on your toes, right?
Yeah.
And this specific person was telling me that he said, you know, when you land on the ball of your foot, you're getting like the natural elasticity of your Achilles to propel you forward.
Yes.
And I think about that. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But my concern is, like, if I start doing that, am I going to get like Achilles tendonitis? You know, because I have never done that, and I've run a certain way forever.
Yeah. No, and you're spot on. That's where, to your point, that's why you go to PT. You're not going to PT when you have an issue. You go and say, hey, I'm going to change something. What do I need to do to bulletproof my body?
Yeah.
And so, like, you go to Sean, or you go to any great PT. Any great PT will tell you that it's okay. You just need to strengthen this a little bit. You need to strengthen this. I need to strengthen my quads a little bit more when I do running. So there's certain exercises that I need to do. And that's just like a construction, like just how you're put together, what your frame is, and that sort of thing. But it is also habits.
Yeah.
So if you need to reintroduce a new habit, it's like, you know, building your own personal systems. If you change a system, well, you might need to adjust or alter what else you're doing so that you make sure you don't hurt yourself or you don't impact or throw yourself out of whack. And so the same thing, like, I'm spot on with how you want to adjust.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what is right. There's not really a right answer to those questions. It's what is best for you and what is best for the situation you're putting yourself into.
Yeah.
And like Sean had shown, he was like, there's areas that you just need to strengthen and your shoe will not impact them. Like, you have a drop hip from a weak part here, which was from my back. And and then also, like, that was on the right side, and on the left side, I wasn't pushing off with my foot as much because I was kind of like lopsided running. And I'm like, shoe doesn't affect that? He's like, no. I was like, okay.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So the strengthening was great. I got new shoes later, but like they were the same exact ones, and I've had no issues. So I was like, well,
is window dressing. Like, it is the flashy, cool thing. There are some great shoes. I love Asics. I really enjoy their shoes. I like the 8mm drop. If you ever like where your heel and toe are, it's just comfortable for me.
Yeah.
I also have incredibly flat feet, so my ankles turn in. So I have to wear insoles, and certain shoes. Certain shoes work better. But it's entirely what you're saying. It's where your hips, what's strong in your back, what you need to work on, and that's just different for everyone. So that's what, again, I'm a big proponent of going to PT just to do a diagnostic. Okay, where do I need to make sure that I'm making myself stronger so that you will not have future issues? It's the same reason why you minimize the amount of times you drink in a week. For sure. It's like you're just trying to have more healthier habits, and that's where you can, talk to someone that can really help you out. Yeah.
See, I'm like kind of mind blown at the fact that, like, because the other part of this too is growing up when I was in high school, we had for soccer, we always had the time 2 mile, right? You had to run 2 miles in 12 minutes, which was the worst because I would just ruin my entire summer just like struggling to get close.
Right. Right.
And I got shin splints really bad because I had warts, and it changed my gait to avoid the pain.
Yeah, been there.
And then I had both shins on the insides, and then I got insoles.
Yeah.
And I wore those for like 6 years, like in all of my shoes except for soccer cleats. Never had an issue. Still to this day don't have an issue, and I don't wear the insoles anymore. My concern was, okay, if I get rid of those, am I going to get shin splints again? And I've been fine ever since. Yeah. So I mean, obviously something strengthened somewhere, and it's cool. But I don't know. Like I've always, like, running to me lately. In the past couple of years, I've gotten into it more where I've let go of the 6 minute pace because that's what was always in my mind. I'm like, if it's not 6 or 7 minutes, it's shit. I'm not doing it. Because then I go 1 mile at 6 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I can only do 1 mile. Like, I never thought I'd be someone that could run 10 miles. Like, I just can't keep that pace.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm signed up for the half marathon in May, but I look at, like, from like fitness across the board, all the different things I do, like, because of CrossFit, you're doing everything, right?
Of course.
And like strength, all that stuff. Like, I'm upper tier in that area, but when it comes to running, speed, endurance, I'm like way down in terms of, I mean, it's pacing at that point.
Yeah, of course.
But I've never been taught how to run in a way that's going to be efficient. And people tell me all the time, like, soccer players, like they'll like run with their shoulders up and like they're real tense. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. But I mean, I just like, it's just something that you just continue to do. And I'm like, well, maybe it'll get better. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
It's never, running is, if you're someone wanting to deal with your mechanics, running is not just keep running.
Yeah.
It's like and then if you're trying to run faster and you're a runner, it's the simplest thing. If you want to run faster, you have to run faster.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna go in like the heart rate training thing.
No. I can't even speak to that. It's like, if you want to run faster, if you're trying to get faster, you got to run faster, which means you have to decrease the amount of miles that you're doing and just do it in sprints.
Yeah.
And then you have to be building that way up. Everything in running is just your mechanics and building that more and more and more and more and more efficient. Mm-hmm. So again, plugging Donald, he'll take your shoes off. He'll look at where your ankles are, where that is. He'll make you do a couple things, and he'll get a better idea of what your gait is, where you need to be strengthening. Because some people don't run, or some people run more upright, which means you're not engaging certain levels of your legs. You might be engaging your core a little bit too much. You might be throwing your arms around a little bit too much, and then you're just going to impact the ability for your knees to take the punishment that is running. Mm-hmm. So efficiency running is longevity running. If you can figure out the best way to put your shoulders right, your engage your core, get your knees right, hips right, all those things, it will carry you for longevity. And then once you figure out longevity, that's your foundation. And once you have that, then you can build in speed. Then you can build in the rest. But you start there, and that is a combination of your mechanics. That's a combination of your strength training. But you do all that, and then you're able to build out and kind of do different things. But centrally locate that foundation for yourself. Talk to the right folks. Make sure you're taking care of it. You got to throw away the 6 minute thing.
Oh, I know. It's gone now.
I know it's hard because, I disagree with, everyone has to run a mile in high school or anything like that. You just are making someone do something. You're not teaching them how to do it.
Yeah.
If you can show mechanics and say, this is the best way for you to do it. And again, it's all personal. It's how you're constructed. So you need to have someone that can sit down, watch you, and build a plan for yourself to do. And once you do that, then you'll have longevity. But that's what I mean by when we talk about running and people not thinking they're runners or, running always hurts. Running is going to be a pain when you first get started. It's the way it is. If you're not a runner, then your muscles, your ligaments, your tendons, they're not prepared for the pressure and the load that you're going to be putting on them. Mm-hmm. But that's also a matter of how are you running. I can see people running that it's clearly they're striking their heels. That is going to shoot up right into their butt, and they're going to have sciatica in 20 years.
Yeah.
And then they're not going to...
Or in like 20 hours.
Right. And then they're not going to want to run anymore.
Yeah.
And it's all because of the structure of that. Or they had a bad, time picking out their shoe and someone demeaning the fact that you don't need those fast shoes. You need these shoes. You're not fast enough. And so there's so many things that come together for that because running is one of those sports that everyone thinks that they can do. Everyone is able to do, but there's like a gatekeeping nature sometimes that people feel that they like, oh, I don't know how to run or I'm not a runner. And then you feel like you can't do it. It's a very odd scenario. All I can say is if you can have your right folks get you right, you can talk to the right trainers that are going to sit down with you and work with you and then get you into the right shoes, you'll be able to have that longevity. And from that longevity, you'll be able to find the right strength training, whatever type of strength training that is. If it's CrossFit, fantastic. Plenty of friends that do that. If you have people that are doing high rocks or something like that. If you have people that are rolling, doing jujitsu, people that are climbers, like you just find that baseline. And if you can have running as a platform for you, then you'll have more longevity. At least that's my opinion.
That's a really good way to put it. And I think that you've definitely shown that. And the people that you were mentioning, like I know like most of the people that you've mentioned so far, and they're exceptionally good at being able to point you in the right direction and taking the right precautionaries because you're not taught the same way. And I think like there's been like a big phase of people getting taught how to lift, whereas like maybe back in the dizzy, back in the 80s, it was like guys would just like put up weight and everyone's like, how did they get that strong? And then it kind of turned into an evolution of learning. Yeah. Learning for longevity, learning for different goals. And that's like actually getting put out there a lot more. And I think running is like kind of, because of the run clubs, I think it's almost coming up in the same way where it's been like more educational coming out instead of like, oh, this dude used to run a bunch of marathons in the 70s and he did it barefoot and like no one knew how. And now there's definitely ways that people show that there's ways to do it.
It's like the Goggins effect. Like he's nuts, and it's incredible the things he's willing to put himself through, and it's inspiring. That's not running for everybody. And it's cool to watch, and it's exciting to, the book was It Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of rallying cries around that. That's that's inspirational for folks that need that. But if you're just trying to live a healthier lifestyle, there are ways that you can do that are not as invasive, that are just tweaks. Creating your own little systems, creating your ways, finding the right information, finding the right people to support you with that information. It's all in there. And if you can find that, then it's incredible once you find that, what you can actually do. Yeah. Whether that is running your first marathon, running your first 10K, whether that is doing a high rocks event, whether that is, hitting a 5 at Ascend or something like there's so many different things that you can do once you just realize that it's a step-by-step process and not something that you should already be able to do.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the thing with people like Goggins. Like, I mean, like you said, he's great, but like people see that and then they're like, holy shit, I have a mountain to climb.
Right.
In reality,
I'm never going to get there.
You only need to do like a little bit more than what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you'll put yourself in a good spot.
That's like most people just need to do a little bit more first.
Yeah.
And there's like a difference between getting like kicked in the ass for motivation and then accidentally kicking your own ass into not being motivated to do it ever again, And that's like the fine line of like running, especially because you're like, oh, I'll just do it. And then come to find out, when you're not in high school, it becomes a little more challenging.
Yeah.
You might have some little weaknesses and you got to take it like you're learning again.
Yeah.
So,
and we get those folks from that like, hey, I haven't run since high school. Can I do this? It's like, yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
And the other point that I'd also make is, when you run with people, whether you're running by yourself for a race or whatever, you run faster, you run further. And that's the interesting thing. I mean, coming from your experience in the military, and me not being in the military, but coming from my experience on teams, you can always do more when you have people with you.
Absolutely.
And so if you find those right people that can be with you, whether it is more casual, whether it is being a maniac and doing your crazy times, if you find those right grouping of people, then it's a wonder what you can actually do because you have that support from all those folks. And it's just finding that right crew. And so that's, if I can, leave anything, it's just that try to find that right group of people that will be able to support you and that you'll be able to feed into as well.
Where can people find either YRC or yourself on social media or any platforms? And I'm using the term YRC, but it's called Yinz Run Club, just to clarify. But like if YRC was thrown out there today, Yinz Run Club is the name of it. Yeah. Where can people find you?
Yeah. So website, yinzrunclub.com. You can find our merch there that we sell. You can find all information about where we're running every month. We do a drop every month to know where we are around the city. At Yinz Run Club on Instagram. We own that same handle on other channels, but Instagram is the primary location. And connect with me. It's at Dan Lampmann on Instagram, LinkedIn, all the social medias. I own at Dan Lampmann for all those. So yeah, reach out and drop in for a run. Seriously, the only thing that we ask anyone to do before they come out for a run is to sign our waiver. And the primary point that we do is that, yes, it's a waiver, like you sign other things, but read it. At the beginning is our code of conduct. If you want to know more about what YRC stands for, what we try to impart, and it's not just, you're hearing this and not the first half of this conversation, you can really understand what our goals are by reading that waiver, reading that code of conduct.
Awesome. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Super glad to have you on. And for everybody else watching, I hope you guys check out the Run Club. At the very least, if you're not from the Pittsburgh area, check out everything through social media so you can kind of learn about like what we were talking about today. And if you're from the area, please go check it out. Join us on a run. I'm there most Wednesdays now at this point. So yeah, until next time, everyone.